You know that feeling when you wake up and the day already feels heavy before you've even gotten out of bed, like you're bracing for something instead of easing into it? But what if the shift you need isn't about doing more or being more disciplined, but about making your morning feel like a gentle anchor instead of a rush? Today, we're going to talk about how to create a morning routine that actually makes life feel better, not more demanding. This matters because the way we start our day often sets a quiet tone for everything that follows, and that tone can be one of calm rather than pressure. When you practice this consistently, you might notice that the rest of your day feels a little more manageable, a little more your own. The truth is, most of us try to force a morning routine that looks good on paper but feels hollow in practice, and that's exactly where the real change needs to happen. In this video, I'll walk you through a simple, step-by-step approach to building a morning routine that feels supportive and sustainable, not like another chore. So let's start with the first piece of this puzzle, which is about shifting how you think about your mornings from the moment you open your eyes. A morning routine isn't about waking up at 5 and running a marathon before sunrise. It's simply the small sequence of actions you take after you open your eyes. When done with intention, those few minutes can quietly shape how the rest of the day feels. For me, it might be sitting still for a moment before checking my phone. A lot of people think a routine needs to be long or impressive, but that's not true. The real meaning is choosing activities that gently ease you into your day instead of rushing through it. So when I say morning routine, I mean any tiny gesture that makes you feel more like yourself. Let's explore why that simple shift matters so much for your everyday well-being. The way you start your morning sets a quiet emotional tone that can last for hours. If you jump straight into notifications and decisions, your brain stays in a reactive state. A calm, intentional start gives you a moment of control before the world demands your attention. That tiny buffer can lower stress and help you feel more grounded throughout the day. Most people underestimate how much a rushed morning drains their energy before noon even arrives. When you protect that first hour, you protect your ability to stay patient and focused. It's not about being perfect, it's about giving yourself a soft landing into the day. Next, let's look at what life feels like when that gentle beginning is missing. Without a meaningful morning routine, the day often starts in a blur of urgency and noise. You wake up already behind, scrolling through messages and rushing to get ready. That feeling of always playing catch-up follows you for hours, making everything feel heavier. Decisions that should be simple, like what to wear or when to leave, become exhausting. You might not notice the toll it takes until mid-afternoon when you feel drained for no clear reason. The lack of a morning anchor leaves you reactive instead of intentional, like a leaf blown by the wind. Honestly, many of us live this way and don't realize how much it chips away at our sense of calm. So what keeps us stuck in that rushed cycle? Let's talk about the common blocks. If you're enjoying this video so far, take a second to hit that like button. It really helps more people find these gentle ideas. And if you haven't already, subscribing means you will not miss the next one. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What part of building a morning routine feels hardest for you right now? Or maybe you already have one small habit that helps you reset. Sharing your experience helps others feel less alone. Stick around, because there's more coming up that might surprise you. One of the biggest blockers is the belief that mornings have to be productive or efficient. We tell ourselves we need to use every minute wisely, so we skip anything that feels like wasting time. Another pattern is grabbing your phone first thing, which floods your brain with other people's demands right away. There's also a hidden habit of rushing, moving too fast through even simple tasks like brushing your teeth. The belief that I'm not a morning person can also keep you from trying anything new because you assume it will not work. Each of these patterns quietly reinforces a start that feels chaotic instead of calm. The good news is that recognizing them is the first step toward choosing something different, and that starts with one simple mindset shift you can make today. The most important shift is to stop seeing your morning routine as a task to check off. Instead, think of it as a gift you give yourself, a few minutes of your own company before the day takes over. This isn't about discipline or willpower, it's about permission to move slowly on purpose. You don't have to earn a calm morning by being productive, you can just have one because you deserve it. A lot of us resist this because we feel guilty for not being busy every second, but that guilt actually steals the peace that a slow morning could provide. So let yourself off the hook. Your routine doesn't have to be impressive, just present. Once you adopt that mindset, you're ready for the first practical step to begin changing this. Start by picking one single action you can do before touching your phone or leaving your bed. It could be taking 3 deep breaths, stretching your arms, or simply noticing the light in the room. The action itself doesn't matter as much as the intention behind it, a pause before the rush. Commit to doing that one thing for just 3 mornings without worrying about the rest of your morning. A common mistake is trying to overhaul your whole morning at once, which usually backfires. By keeping it small, you build momentum and prove to yourself that change is possible. That tiny moment of stillness begins to change how the rest of your morning feels. And once that first step feels natural, you'll be ready to explore what comes next in building a routine that truly supports you. So what does a morning routine that actually makes life feel better look like on a regular Tuesday? It's not about waking up at 4 a.m. or doing a full hour of meditation before the sun rises. Instead, it's a simple, repeatable sequence that fits into the time you actually have. You might wake up, take 3 slow breaths before you check your phone, and then sit with your coffee for 5 minutes without scrolling. The key is that it feels like a gentle anchor, not another task on your to-do list. Some days it might be shorter, other days longer, but the core feeling of starting with intention stays the same. You're not trying to be perfect, you're just giving yourself a small moment of calm before the day pulls you in. That realistic version is what makes the routine sustainable, and it's exactly what we'll build on next. One simple practice that supports this kind of morning routine is what I call a 1-minute check-in. Right after you wake up, before you do anything else, you pause and ask yourself one question: what do I need right now? It sounds almost too simple, but that tiny moment of self-awareness changes how the rest of your morning unfolds. You might realize you need a glass of water, a stretch, or just a minute of quiet before the noise starts. The point isn't to get a perfect answer, it's to remind yourself that your own needs matter first thing in the day. Over time, this check-in becomes a habit that gently guides your choices, like which task to start with or when to take a break. You can do it in bed, still lying down, with your eyes closed so there's no barrier to starting. This tiny habit is the foundation, and once it's in place, the rest of the routine feels more natural. If you want more simple, practical ideas like this, there's a place where they all come together. Head over to www.happylifetribe.com. You'll find articles, guides, and gentle encouragement for building a calmer, more intentional life. It's all about small steps that actually fit into your real day. No pressure, no perfection, just support for where you are right now. Whether you're looking for morning routine tips or ways to ease stress, it's all there. Think of it as a quiet corner of the internet made for you. Come by whenever you need a little extra guidance. A really common mistake people make when trying to build a morning routine is trying to copy someone else's exact schedule. You see a video of someone waking up at 5 a.m., journaling for 20 minutes, then exercising, and you think that's the only way. But your life, your energy levels, and your responsibilities are completely different from theirs. When you force a routine that doesn't match your natural rhythm, it feels like a chore, and you're more likely to quit within a week. Another mistake is trying to add too many new habits at once, which overwhelms your brain and makes the whole thing feel impossible. The truth is, a morning routine that makes life feel better should feel like a relief, not a burden. So instead of copying someone else, start with just one small thing that actually feels good to you. That way you avoid the trap of comparison and build something that truly fits your life. To make this feel realistic instead of overwhelming, you have to let go of the idea that your morning routine has to be the same every single day. Some mornings you'll have more time, some mornings you'll have less, and that's completely okay. The goal is to have a flexible framework, not a rigid checklist that breaks if one thing goes wrong. For example, you might have a core of just 2 minutes, 1 minute of breathing, and 1 minute of setting an intention for the day. On busy mornings, that's all you do, and it still counts as a win. On slower mornings, you can add a longer walk, some journaling, or whatever feels right. This approach removes the pressure to be perfect and lets the routine adapt to your real life. When you stop demanding perfection, the routine becomes something you actually look forward to, not something you dread. When your morning routine starts to improve, you'll notice a shift in how you feel during the first hour of your day. Instead of waking up already stressed and reactive, you feel a little more grounded and in control. That sense of calm tends to carry forward, so you're less likely to snap at someone or rush through your morning in a panic. You might also notice that your mind feels clearer, like you have a bit more space to think before the demands of the day pile up. Emotionally, you start to trust yourself more because you're keeping a small promise to yourself each morning. That trust builds slowly, but it makes a real difference in how you handle challenges later in the day. You're not suddenly a different person, but you feel a little more like yourself, which is a huge relief. This emotional shift is what makes the routine worth sticking with, even when it feels hard. Life will get busy, and there will be mornings when your routine feels impossible to keep up. The key to keeping momentum is to have a minimum viable version that you can do in under 2 minutes. That might be just the 1-minute check-in we talked about earlier, or simply taking 3 deep breaths before you get out of bed. When you do even that tiny piece, you're telling your brain that the routine still matters, even on chaotic days. Another helpful trick is to prepare the night before, like setting out your water glass or putting your phone across the room. That way, the morning decision is already made and you don't have to think about it when you're tired. Remember, consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means showing up in whatever small way you can. And once you've got that momentum, we can look at how to deepen the routine without making it harder, which is exactly what we'll talk about next. Over weeks and months, this morning routine stops feeling like something you have to do and starts feeling like something you get to do. That shift matters because it changes your relationship with the start of each day from obligation to quiet anticipation. You begin to notice that the calm you create in those first minutes carries forward into how you respond to stress later. A small example, you might find yourself pausing before reacting to a frustrating email simply because you practiced pausing that morning. This doesn't mean every day becomes perfect, but the overall texture of your life softens in a real way. You start to trust that even on hard mornings, the routine gives you a steady anchor instead of another demand. The key is to let this happen naturally, without forcing yourself to feel different right away. As we move forward, let's look at a realistic challenge that can still show up, even when things are going well. You don't have to figure this out all by yourself. There's a whole community of people trying to live with more intention and peace. When you subscribe to Happy Life Tribe, you join others who are taking small, steady steps forward. We share ideas, encouragement, and real stories that remind you you're not alone. You can also connect with us at www.happylifetribe.com. There you'll find a space where growing and learning alongside others feels natural. It's not about being perfect, it's about showing up, one morning at a time. I'd love to have you with us on this journey. One of the most common setbacks is the morning when you simply do not want to do the routine at all. This can happen after a late night, a stressful week, or just a random day when motivation is completely absent. The challenge here is not that you skip the routine, but that you might judge yourself harshly for skipping it. That judgment can make it harder to come back the next day because you start associating the routine with guilt. A realistic truth is that even people who have practiced this for years have mornings where they choose to rest instead. The benefit of recognizing this is that you can plan for it rather than being surprised when it happens. A simple takeaway is to give yourself permission to skip one morning without turning it into a story about failure. Next, let's talk about how to recover when you slip back into old patterns for a longer stretch. If you miss several mornings in a row, the most important thing is to avoid trying to fix everything at once. Trying to jump back into a full routine can feel overwhelming and make you want to give up again. Instead, start with just one small piece of the routine, like sitting quietly for 2 minutes before checking your phone. That single action reminds your brain that the routine is still available to you without pressure. A realistic truth is that slipping is not a sign that the routine doesn't work. It is a sign that you are human and life gets messy. The relief comes when you realize you do not have to earn your way back into the routine. You can simply re-enter it gently. A practical takeaway is to keep your morning routine written down somewhere visible so you can return to it without having to remember everything. Now let's explore who this topic helps most and why it matters for different kinds of people. This approach to a morning routine helps anyone who feels like their day starts in reaction mode rather than intention mode. It is especially useful for people who carry a lot of mental load, whether from work, family, or internal pressure. If you often wake up already thinking about what you have to do for others, this routine gives you a few minutes just for yourself. It also helps people who struggle with anxiety because the predictability of a calm start can lower that morning spike of worry. A realistic truth is that this is not a cure for deeper issues, but it creates a supportive structure that makes everything else a little easier. The benefit is that you do not need to be a morning person or a disciplined person to make it work. You just need to be willing to try. A simple takeaway is that if you have ever felt rushed or scattered in the morning, this topic is for you. With that in mind, let's move into a simple action plan to begin this today. To start, pick one small action you can do within the first 10 minutes of waking up, something that feels calming, not productive. It could be sitting up in bed and taking 3 slow breaths, or looking out the window for a moment before reaching for anything. Then, commit to doing that one action every morning for the next 7 days, no matter how short it feels. A realistic detail is to set a gentle reminder on your phone, but place it across the room so you have to get up to turn it off. The challenge here is that your mind will tell you this is too simple to matter, but that is exactly the point. The benefit is that by starting small, you build momentum without resistance, and that momentum is what makes the routine stick. A practical takeaway is to write down your one action on a sticky note and put it on your pillow before you go to bed tonight. Finally, let's close with some encouragement on why this change is worth practicing over the long run. The reason this morning routine matters is not because it will fix everything, but because it gives you a small space where you are in charge of how your day begins. Over time, that small space grows into a quiet confidence that you can handle whatever comes next. You will still have hard days, rushed mornings, and moments when you forget why you started, but the routine will still be there waiting for you. The real value is not in perfection, it is in the repeated act of choosing yourself for a few minutes before the world makes its demands. A realistic truth is that this practice may never feel dramatic, but it will feel steady, and steadiness is what makes life feel better. The relief is that you do not have to get it right every day, you just have to keep coming back to it when you can. A simple takeaway to carry with you is that your morning is yours, and you get to decide what it looks like, even if only for a moment. Thank you for being here, and I hope you give yourself the gift of a gentle start tomorrow. As we wrap up here, I hope you feel a little more ready to try a small shift in your morning. Even one gentle change can make the start of your day feel a little lighter. If this video helped you see something new, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Happy Life Tribe. We share practical ideas like this every week to help you build a calmer, more intentional life. For more encouragement and mindful lifestyle guidance, visit www.happylifetribe.com. There you'll find a supportive community and simple tools to keep you going. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope your mornings feel a little more like yours from now on.